All right. Peace and greetings, YouTubers. So, the 2019 Soul Train Awards. Let's just jump right into it. You know, I always say, if you follow me, that this is always one of my favorite award shows to watch. It's one of the award shows I always look forward to seeing, mainly because I know I'm always going to get some good vocals. I know that there's going to be an appreciation for the actual musicality in the show. The band is going to be good. They're going to have like a 10, 15-piece house band, and the house band is going to have like 3 to 4 backup singers. And they're also going to give you a balance of a lot of things. They're going to give you a balance of newer artists and older artists. You're going to get some gospel. You're going to get some stuff you may not even recognize. There's going to be a bunch of everything. And so the Soul Train Awards has always been one of my favorites. I remember last year, one of my critiques was that I was disappointed that so many artists didn't show up last year. They even made the show a little bit shorter because there weren't that many people there. It was like, are y'all serious? Come on now. But this year just seemed to be a lot better as far as people showing up and people actually being eager to actually be there. Because I always say, this is one of the few award shows where a lot of black artists even get an opportunity to shine. Because they're not getting it at the Grammys. They're not getting it at the AMAs, the Billboard Awards, some the VMAs. Sometimes, pretty much most of the award shows. This is one of the times where artists who tend to really be doing a lot in the internet world and in the streaming world, this is when they get an opportunity to shine. And artists who tend to be really popular on the Urban AC radio stations and the Urban AC charts, but maybe not on the mainstream charts, this is the opportunity they get to shine. And these people usually come through and they kill it every time, so I always enjoy it. I'm going to skip around with the actual show, but I have to say, one of the funniest bits to me is you had Yolanda Adams do this great tribute. You know what I mean? Like she had her tribute, because I definitely support her getting one, because she's giving a tribute to everybody and their mom in the music industry. Every award show, you always know there's certain people they're going to call. They're going to call Yolanda. They're going to call Fantasia. They're going to call Jennifer Hudson. Those are the main 3 for everybody's tribute. And so, I was so happy Yolanda got her tribute. But the funniest bit was she just does this great performance. Kills it. Yolanda never has a bad performance. Her vocals are always on point. So Yolanda has anointed the house. She done sang, 15 different church songs. She done took everybody to the throne. If she would have been up there for 2-3 more minutes, folks would have started passing out in the aisle. They were going to be selling fish plates after the show. And so they did all of that. And then literally in the same 5-minute span, what's the next performance? Luke James. I said, wait a minute, now how does this work? And Luke James, he's doing the whole sex throb model, TLC creep pajamas on the bed with the strippers and the dancers, and they butt cheeks out and they gyrating. He's rolling. He got the shirt open, got the body oil, and then BJ the Chicago Kid and Ro James are out there too, and they're gyrating and rolling. Luke James is all in the front and dropping it. I was like, wait a minute, now y'all just had Yolanda Adams on the stage, and she's sitting in the front row. So I hope you ain't thrusting in Yolanda Adams' face, okay? I died watching it. That had me rolling. But that performance, though, I did think Luke James sounded really good. There was some issues with the sound, though, so you couldn't really hear Ro James or BJ the Chicago Kid. And we know that they all can sing, but I think, and I was telling this to somebody else, too. If you used to follow me way back in the day, I used to always mention this, because there was a moment when all of the TVs went from analog to digital. And even with that digital, that also changed how the sound feeds would present themselves. So back in the day, at most award shows, when you'd watch something in the 80s or the 90s or even early 2000s, everything used to play through literally maybe 1 or 2 feeds, and it would come into your TV. So literally the band, the artist that was performing, the house, the host, anything that made sound, it all usually played only through 1 or 2 feeds, and that feed would, it would feed through your TV, or that outlet would play through your TV, and you would literally hear what the people in the house would hear, the house being the venue that the show is being performed at. And because I remember I went to BET Honors in I went a few times, but I went 2013, I was there, I was in the front row, and Mint Condition performed. Great performance. They killed it, right? They killed it. It was just whimsical. It was enjoyable. And then when it aired on TV a few weeks later, me and my friends who went, we were like, I don't remember it sounding like that. Oh, okay. And so I think what's happening is when you're talking about like the feeds, like now because they have multiple feeds, like there's a feed for the house specifically. That's when you hear like the audience clapping and everything. That's in a feed by itself. There's house mics, and that's a feed. There's a feed for the band, and usually within the band there's 2 or 3 feeds. So a lot of times I think they've taken the same model that a lot of entertainers use when they tour, where in that earpiece, sometimes the only thing they may hear is just the drummer and the bass line and themselves and the backup singers. And then something like the guitars or the synth or the piano and everything else is in another feed. And so normally the band is in 2 or 3 different feeds, and then the artist that's performing is also in another feed. And then there may be another feed for additional vocalists or anything else like that. And so you have 4 or 5, 6 different feeds that are all going into the outlet, and then it's playing to your TV or to your streaming device. And so even though you're hearing the performance, you're not hearing how it's heard in the house or how it's heard in the venue. And so with the isolated music track versus the isolated vocal versus the isolated whatever, it doesn't come off as polished and doesn't come off as rich. So some performances just don't sound as good anymore because, at least back in the day for a lot of artists, if you had a pitchy performance, sometimes those bad notes sometimes could get drowned out by the music and everything else anyway, so nobody caught it. Today, it's more amplified. So when somebody is on the wrong note or under the note or over the note, or they're not coming in strong enough, or if they have auto-tune in their mic, it's picked up a lot more. You can hear it. And somebody was trying to tell me that doesn't exist. Like, there's no such thing as auto-tune in the live mics. I said, listen, let me do you a favor. Go back and watch J-Lo's performance of If You Had My Love on one of those night shows. I'll put like a clip on the side. In that performance, now this is before they did the major switch from analog to digital, but in that performance, she definitely had some pitch correction or something in that microphone to help her sing the song. And I think because, and what I've learned with auto-tune is like when you sing into it, the further off key you go, the harder auto-tune has to work to correct you, and it will end up throwing you off key. Like the outcome will come up like off key. Like you may be singing one thing and the studio's going to play something else, and it might not even sound like what you thought it was going to be like. But literally, she was so far off in the notes that the pitch correction couldn't even work properly, and it just sounded a mess. So that is a real thing that exists. A lot of entertainers have been using that, especially lately. But anyway, going back to my point, so I do think with some of the performances, the vocals and stuff were off for a lot of the entertainers, and I think because they've made that switch with the feeds, it's sometimes more amplified. It's more obvious. So, but anyway, let me stay on task. I did not mean to go on that rant. I should have saved that for one of our live videos. But yeah, so that performance was funny. I liked the opening. I thought the opening was funny with Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell as far as the Jimmy Jam tribute with the Janet Jackson songs. I thought that was hilarious with them doing the dancing and everything like that. Sir performed. I have to get more into the music of Sir because I'm not that familiar. So the performance came and it went and it was cool. I guess if I knew the song a bit more, I could enjoy it a little bit more. But they performed. K. Michelle had a performance, and it's crazy because I was just telling somebody else how good her Anybody Wanna Buy a Heart album was. That's the album that came out in like 2013, 2014. I forgot how good that album was. With this song that she performed, I actually liked the song as well. I don't know if it was live, but I'll say this. When K. Michelle does perform live, she's always in good voice. I've never heard a bad K. Michelle performance. I really liked the song, and I thought she looked very nice as well. And of course, I love that, the song has the Can You Stand the Rain sample. That's dope. There was another act named Tiamar, somebody new. She was one of the acts that they show, when they showcase on the side stage and then they go to commercial. She had performed. I went back and I listened to the music on her page on like Tidal. I was like, okay, I see what she's going for here. But again, that conversation about some of the vocals being scratchy at the beginning of the show or during the show, the first half of her performance, I couldn't figure out what was going on at first. And then she cleaned it up towards the end, and right before it could get good, they went to commercial. I was like, oh, well, okay, never mind. So, yeah, I'll have to kind of go back and listen to the rest of her catalog. And then the song from Earth Gang that was performed. I think that song is going to blow up on Urban AC Radio, in my opinion. That's the song that complements that new movie that's coming out with Issa Rae. I can definitely see that song being really, really popular on like Urban AC radio stations. I can really see that, the whole grown and sexy audience. I can definitely see that song blowing up. It had really beautiful lyrics and a great delivery. I can definitely see that song being something. That performance as well, too, there was a moment where somebody was off. I don't know what that was about, but again, it is what it is. Nobody's perfect. You know what I mean? And then the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis tribute. They had like the tribute spread out throughout the show. And so you had Boyz II Men perform and you had Stokley perform. With Boyz II Men, I'm not going to lie, because they opened by performing Force MD's Tender Love, which is a really great song. But I think his approach to the song, the vocalist from Boyz II Men, I forgot the man's name. I want to say that's Sean. I think that's Sean. If I forgot, I'm sorry. I think he approached it the wrong way, but to also be fair, because he was very pitchy, and then the next guy came in. I was like, oh, ugh. I mean, it cleaned up by the time Wanya Morris got in there. But to be fair to Boyz II Men, they tour year round, and when you do a lot of touring, and it's not like they have an easy catalog to sing. Pretty much all of their songs require you to have to really do a lot vocally. There is a thing called wear and tear on the voice. So I just think it might have just been a bad night. They were a little tired, but they did clean it up towards the second half of the performance, and it was fine by the end. But they struggled in the beginning, but it's okay. You know what? Because I've seen them a few times, and I know what they're capable of doing on the stage. And then Stokley, of course, performed. Stokley had a great performance, and Stokely's just smooth, and he just missed the cool. He has a really good album, by the way. Y'all should definitely check it out. Let me see. Moving on. And with Stokley, I appreciated the musical arrangement that they did for Pretty Brown Eyes, or Breaking My Heart. Like, really great musical arrangements. I love the way that was presented. Wale and Jeremiah performed. And again, we're talking with the sound. From what I understand, I guess Jeremiah was singing with the backing track. But the mic was kind of doing its own thing. I don't know. But it was kind of weird because it was going in and out, or he was going in and out with the track. So it was like, wait a minute, what's going on? But I did appreciate the fact that they tried to do something different as far as Wale, bringing some theatrics in a set. And of course, he brought out Kelly Price, and she never has a bad performance herself because she's always in good voice and she's always ready. So she comes out and just kills it. So I did appreciate the fact that Wale, put effort into the performance, because sometimes I always have a critique of some rappers where they don't really do much. They just come out there and do anything, and then people are extremely harsh on the actual singers and the visual performers, and the rappers get a pass to just do anything. So I appreciated the fact that, he put effort into his performance, and I definitely loved the tribute to black women. I thought that was dope. Let me see, Queen Naija performed, and at first, I totally forgot about her. Where has she been? Like, the song she performed, this is my first time hearing it, but I definitely enjoyed the end of the performance because she finally found her pocket, and, she went out with a bang. The opening was cool, but I think the ending of the song was like, okay, all right, Queen Naija, okay, you did your thing there, but I haven't heard from her all year. Like, where's she been at? But okay, maybe that's just me. I'm a little outdated with some of the music anyway. Pink Sweats performed, and again, this was one of the performers that, they do the performance that's highlighted it, and they go to commercial. Before I could really get into the performance, they went to commercial. I was like, oh, all right. So I have to just make it my task to go and check out his stuff separately. And then they did the Cypher, which is always one of the highlights, So it was Carl Thomas, it was Keisha Cole, Leandria Johnson, and Anthony Hamilton, and then you had Robert Glasper on keys. And all four of them did an excellent job. They were all great. Keisha Cole was in good voice. Anthony Hamilton is one of my favorite vocalists. Anytime he opens his mouth to sing, it's like you're on the set of Color Purple. You just feel the struggle. He can sing the alphabet, and that will be the most oppressed alphabet, and you will feel every letter. He just has that kind of voice. All right. Who else? And Leandria Johnson is just unmatched. A vocalist indeed. There's people who are singers, and then there's people who are singers. Leandria Johnson, she just has that conviction in her voice. She's one of those singers. And, Carl Thomas was good. And of course, Erykah Badu's always the host. My favorite cypher had to be the one with Layla Hathaway in it. I forgot what year that was. And then we've already talked about the Yolanda Adams tribute, but that was a great tribute. As far as tributes, still my favorite tribute that ever was done was the Anita Baker tribute. That was so good. That was from 2010. That was the one. It was Tamia, it was Deion Ferris, it was Kim, it was Goapele, it was Layla Hathaway. I think I said Faith Evans. It was Chrisette Michele. That was such a good one. It was so good. So good. It's still on YouTube. You should go back and watch it just to enjoy. And then Babyface, comes out to help with the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis tribute. And let me see. Oh, yeah. And so I have to say I appreciated the speeches that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had. And I also appreciated Kirk Franklin's speech as far as the conversation about, microwavable talent versus, letting your talent marinate and letting your gift come into fruition in its own time and in its own manner. I totally received all of that. I received that. But I definitely enjoyed the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis bit, because they've just done so much in music. They're two of my favorite producers because, they worked heavily with, mainly two of my favorite artists, Prince and Janet Jackson. And so, a lot of my own sound as an artist is inspired by what they do. They've always just been extremely dope. And the fact that they've been able to evolve musically, since the 80s and keep up with the times and stay fresh, that's a God-given talent. You have to have a great ear to stay fresh as a producer because you're constantly going against the status quo because you can't chase the trends. You have to set a trend. And I think they've always done that production-wise. They've always set the trends for what everybody else would go and do later on. So they definitely deserve the kudos. And their tribute was a lot of fun. You had Sounds of Blackness come out, And it was hilarious because you had Ann Nesby, and she was like, look, the Sounds of Blackness part is only 45 seconds, so I'm just going to oversing everybody. I'm going to sing over everybody's part. I'm going to make sure y'all know that I'm here. And then when Morris Day comes out later on, I'm going to sing over the bird too. I was like, okay. So they were fun. SOS Band performs. My favorite SOS Band song, of course, is Take Your Time, Do It Right, and Weekend Girl. But Tell Me If You Still Care always knocks. And I always like Monica's version of Tell Me If You Still Care as well. That was always good. Oh yeah, and then Sherelle and Alexander O'Neal performed. I'll say this. Alexander O'Neal has lived. Boy, has he lived. Now, I'll leave it at that. But I will say, my favorite Alexander O'Neal song, I got a few. Fake, All True Man, and Everything I Miss at Home. Those are some good ones, especially All True Man. That's my song. I love that. It's a good song. That used to be one of my karaoke songs, but the karaoke bars never have the song. Tripping. And then, of course, Morris Day and the Time closed the show. And, Morris Day is just, they're always funky anyway. If you've never seen them, you have to go and see them. I saw them in Dallas back in 2017, and I mean, it was just a straight party for 2 hours. It was so much fun. And it's even when they do the bird, you have to hear the bird live, because I don't know what they do with the drums, but it's like the sound is amplified. The whole room is just throbbing, and it's just like it is dope. It was so much fun. So they were fun, of course. And what I love the ending, how they had all of the celebrities on the stage, because the first thing it reminded me of was like NAACP Awards from '89, where it was BB and CeCe Winans, and they did Hold Up the Light with Whitney Houston, and at the end, all of the celebrities came on stage. So you had like Natalie Cole, you had Gregory Hines, like the whole cast, A Different World, everybody who was somebody was there on the stage. I was like, that's so dope. I love us. I really do. Anyway, share your 2 cents. What did you think about the show? Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Still, 2010 is always going to be my favorite year of the Soul Train Awards, but they did a great job. So kudos to them. Anyway, I'm out.
Don't change a thing, my bloom and fly. We set the mood up, so baby, don't you change a thing. We set the mood up, so